More visual novel than a game, Eastward came out recently, a bit more than a week ago. Praised by most players, it will receive more skeptical opinion from me. You see, Eastward feels like a mix of Bastion's gameplay, time rewinding and cute moments from Katana Zero, alongside with one crucial downside: self-awareness. If in Bastion 90% of the time you were playing, so here in most cases you are watching cutscenes that you can't influence or change in any way. On the other hand, it's so visually appealing, so musically and aesthetically good that it would be a good example of a pixel film. The reason it is not, perhaps, that both players and developers are not yet ready for this kind of media. I really believe that Eastward could be shorter, from average stretched 15-20 hours. They could have tell us engaging story in form of a film within 2 or 3 hours. There could be one question: does this game bad? Perhaps not. I would rather call it tedious. After a few hours I already knew how the game will go. Still was waiting for some turnaround, that everything would change, that story will take an unexpected turn, but can't say I didn't receive any emotions from Eastward. It bring me smile a couple of times, sadness, but I really was forcing myself to finish it for the video. Most players on Steam praise this game. Now it has very positive feedback, but there are occurring more and more people that have balanced opinion. I also tried to love this game, but I just can't. Is it really a bad product that you should avoid at all cost? Of course not, but it has its downsides. Let's dive into them so you would be able to decide if I'm right or not. I'll talk about the gameplay first, so you would have an idea how does you play this game. We have a kinda open world. You have locations, but most of them will be possible to visit only after story events, and if you want to just explore on your own, well, good luck. You could find a few shops with upgrades here and there, and NPCs that will not give you side quests. Occasionally you could dive in a Final Fantasy minigame if you want. Also, we are able to cook. You need to gather 3 ingredients, then roll a roulette for additional health bonuses. Food works as medkits. This game as straightforward as a rail. We play as John, he is a digger, and Sam, a girl with unique abilities. He found her in some sort of a special science lab. The gameplay itself divided into a few segments: combat, puzzles, walking around for countless hours, and standing still for countless hours. As I've said previously, combat feels like a tweak from Bastion. Same concept, even the same few weapons. In melee we can use our frying pan. We also will get a shotgun, a few types of bombs, a flamethrower, and also a saw thrower like in Dead Space. During combat we also can switch to Sam. She could throw bubbles that would stun enemies. I almost didn't use her abilities. It's just easier to avoid attacks with John and then land your own. Then the puzzle sections. At first they are so simple that a 2-year-old kid could solve them, but later they will be more complex. They would be divided into the 2 parts where you would need to use abilities of both Sam and John to move further. Almost at the end the game would even turn into a speedrun simulator. There is nothing you would have not seen in other games, but puzzles feels logical, organic as a part of the game, and after you would accomplish them you will see how brilliant they are in their simplicity. The biggest no from me is that the gameplay is unnecessarily stretched. Segments changed all the time. Yes, you wouldn't stuck with the same process for long periods of time, but you really could tell that developers have put additional copy-pasted content just for longer playthrough. First of all, hours of walking from a point A to the point B. Locations are not that big, but big enough to spend some time to reach your target. A lot of times you will be needed to speak with one NPC in a city just to get to the other NPC to a place where you've been a minute ago. Same with combat and puzzles. For example, almost at the very end of the game you will get to the one tower. You know who is the boss, you know that there's gonna be a fight, but no, you need to power up elevator first, then you should get to another floor where you need to power up it 2 more times. In each of these directions there will be at least a few puzzles and fights with copy-pasted locations. And there are a few such floors in this tower. The whole game will go like this. Closer the end, the more copy-paste you will get. There will be no unexpected turns. Bosses are relatively easy, unlike the casual fights with monsters. It's either simple or too hard. The game just keeps going with no purpose. It could have been way shorter. From more than 17 hours, 2 or 3 of them I was running around, and more than 8 I was watching the cutscenes and reading dialogues, and the other ones was the tedious gameplay. So the game is completely bad then? Hold up, we still got graphics, sound and the story. From visual side, the game is, without arguments, gorgeous. Truly a pixelated piece of art. Besides a lot of good things that I will talk about in a moment, stands coloring. It is so good, it is so in place, so unusual. For example, how would you show sunlight in the morning? Well, probably with additional yellow light. Eastward showed this through warm green forest. The game has no voice lines, obviously only text, and in these conditions it's hard to show something spectacular in terms of dialogue, emotions or drama, but they've done it. Zooms, animations, screen shakes, it's just amazing how developers cared about visuals. Characters and monster designs are really special, they look unique. I could be mistaken of course, but I've never seen them in other games. Well, basic monsters are pretty common, but still they've been made special. Animations are also on top, they complement the story on every level possible. If we talk about combat, you could see indications whenever you hit an enemy or when will they attack. The other thing that got me about the design and overall look of the game is how Eastward shows its world. You see, the game's world got in some kind of a disaster, so it's post-apocalyptic world. How usually games show this? Desperate ruins, grey color, violence, all this stuff. In Eastward it's shown more in a childish way, even the toughest events like someone's death shown with less negativity than in most games. I don't know if it was done on purpose or not, but I like it. A fresh look on old themes. From a visual side, this game is beautiful, and I unironically think it should be studied by pixel art artists as an example of an extraordinary work. As I've previously mentioned, Eastward would have been way better if it was a film, but perhaps it would have been not that engaging in terms of story. In game I can spend more time with characters and build attachment to them, although I would easily trade this to get rid of frustration from countless tedious gameplay hours. Sound part of this game is also does not disappoint. I talk about the music. Sound design is also here, but it serves just to indicate characters' actions and adds very little to how do you perceive the game. Music on the other hand is as good as the visual side. Tracks are synth mostly, but there are a few instrumental variations and 8 16-bit backgrounds. It has a lot of moods too. Dynamic battle themes, long and depressive piano compositions, dramatic tracks, etc. You just need to listen to them by yourself. I'll just show you a few ones that I like the most. There are more than 2 hours of music in Eastward. Soundtracks here has its own temper, and further the game goes, the more you will understand its nature. Usually certain tracks show certain emotions that developers want you to feel, and it works. It works as a partner of the story, it feels like a proper teamwork, just like it should be. Long story short, Eastward's soundtracks are just amazing. And now the final part of the game, arguably the most vital one. I will not spoil it to you, because if you know it, there will be no reason to even play the game in the first place. As I've said, we play as John. He can't speak for the reasons unknown. Either he is mute, or this is just the way to make player more attached through the main character, like in Half-Life for example. Sam serves as the story pusher and cute moments generator. She's so adorable and naive as a character that it's almost impossible not to smile. At the same time, there are so many these cute moments where you can do nothing that is quickly becoming tiresome. Plot also does not work as intended. Story here told in a manner of reverse spiral, like in Interstellar. Once you will know the details, you could look back on previous events with a better understanding. In theory, a lot of people in game calls Sam Mother. At first you won't understand why. Some sort of miasma attacking the world, which in the end will not be explained why and how does it even appeared. In any case, we constantly pushing forward, walking around, change places, cities, later we will play with time. Almost to the very end of our adventures we have no goal. Usually we're just escaping the danger, but that's it. What pushes the story? Characters? Well, probably, but usually a plot twist, just a combination of random occasions and events here. In Bastion, for example, we knew that the world is gonna end, and we got a reason to push forward, to fix it. Here we are just running around. Story details are not told directly, you only could guess them. Before the game eventually will tell you about it, you already guessed them, and that was not a big surprise. There is no proper character development as well. We can see that John like a father to Sam, but all he does is just silently follows where she goes. No ups and downs, nothing. I really expected something, like a wild turn, or at least at the very end, at least at the final boss, something, but the game just moves on and on and on with no purpose, just to fill you with needless puzzles and fights. I can't tell that the game hasn't bring me no emotions at all. Like, once you will beat the final boss, there will be the cutscene that got me, alongside with a few nice jokes throughout the game, but that's it. Perhaps after all this rant someone would call game bad or good like most players. I don't want to call it neither of them, it's just not there. I won't be replaying Eastward, I was forcing myself to complete it for a video, but probably I will be following the next titles from the game's developer. It needs a few more interesting gameplay mechanics, a few more story turns. This game had great potential, but